Okay, welcome to Drive Time Discussion. I'm sitting here with Our True History, as usual. He's my partner in crime. Today's topic, we're going to have a break from some of the other topics we talked about, as we've talked about them a lot lately. Today's topic is 411 missing. And we can talk about missing people in general, but 411 missing is today's topic. Our True History. What do you know about 411 missing?
Well, so there's 800,000 children go missing in the States every year. That's just the children, that's just in the States. Now obviously some turn up, but they turn up after the statistics have come out. So for example, the 800,000 is while they're missing that year, and then the following year they may be found alive or dead. So the children missing goes into a different category to adult missing, I put it as, because I know you cover, or you have looked into more of a satanic version of what happens with children.
Some of it, yeah. I mean, I know quite a lot about that, but yeah, as in, yeah, the other reasons why children, stroke adults go missing.
Yeah. So then you've got, so the adult ones, there's sort of two trains of thought really on the missing people. So we're talking about missing people that there really is no clue as to why they're missing, not because, you know, they had an argument with their ex-wife and run off. These are people we're talking about today that shouldn't suddenly have disappeared. You know, there's no reason at all, and there's no trace of them.
No sign of animals killing them, there's no blood trace, no weapons trace. 411 was originally, is a guy called David Paulides put it together because he was a law enforcement officer, and he was realising that there seemed to be a lot of people going missing in the national parks, and a lot of them were, apart from the odd animal attack and things like that, which naturally happens, or accident, you know, as what might happen as well. There was a lot of unsolved stuff going on, and there seemed to be patterns and clusters of these people going missing, correct?
Yeah, and what really piqued his interest was, for example, there might have been a group of 6 people, and the person walking at the back disappears, just literally disappears. Dogs can't trace the scent, and that person's never seen again. Or might have been someone at the front that turns a corner, literally 10, 20 foot ahead. Yeah, and I mean that ties into something that we spoke about on one of the other drive times, where when I was 7, my mum was reading out a newspaper article of a person, an elderly couple. The husband went out the back garden to get firewood from literally right outside his back door, and just disappeared. So that's why I'm interested in. Why are you interested in the missing people?
I come across it a few years back, actually quite a number of years back actually, I'm thinking now, because I've always been drawn to the unsolved kind of stuff, and the outdoors really intrigues me. I go hiking, and I've been to Norway hiking and Scotland hiking. I'm an outdoorsy kind of person, so anything to do with the outdoors, especially when people go missing unsolved, always draws me in, and the stories are fascinating.
Okay, well, give us one of the stories that you can think of.
One of the stories I can think of involves a little boy. I think he was 2 or 3, yeah, that kind of age. Basically went missing, completely missing from his parents, who was in one of the national parks. I can't remember which one it was. A lot of them go missing in Yosemite, and there's so many national parks in America, isn't there? One of them, he went missing completely, and then obviously a massive search went underway. Police, all the parks people, and for months and months I think it went on, and then they gave up. They couldn't find anything in the end. There was no trace of blood. I think he only went missing like literally 50 feet from where his parents were. There was no explanation, no sign of a struggle, no blood trace, nothing. And then some months later, I think a hiker was walking a long distance from where he went missing from, as far as I can remember, and come across on the edge of a cliff a little area where they found his clothes. And they found fragments of his think teeth were there, and there was no explanation. His clothes had no signs of struggle, no tears from an animal. Like there was no chance of a bear or a cougar or getting him, because there was no tears in the clothing. They were pretty much there, and so I think the shoes were lying perfectly next to each other, so there was no sign. They're just really strange things. And they've done the DNA test on the teeth, and they come back as that they were his teeth. And where it was, there's no way a little boy could have got up there. So that was one of the unsolved stories.
Well, one of my favourite unsolved stories, and this, I don't think this comes from Pilades, David Pilades. I think I got this before I even knew of him. But it was a mother went out in the States. Her back garden sort of leads onto some sort of forest. And they were out there. She was out there with her 2 children, about 5 and 7, I think, something like that. And they were picking berries or something. And they were all, no further than sort of 20 foot apart from each other. And then suddenly the younger kid, the 5-year-old, just vanished. Of course, they called all the people and everything else. Cut a long story short, 5 years went past, and one day there was a knock at the back door, and it was the boy. I'm assuming she didn't say whether or not he'd aged, but I'm assuming he'd aged. And she asked, obviously the first question is, where have you been? He turned around and said, because he still had the vocabulary as a 5-year-old, he turned around and said, I could see you, Mummy, but you couldn't see me.
How strange is that?
Yeah, so eventually she asked, how did you survive? And he said he was with the little people. So make of that as you will. That one stuck with me, and I have heard other stories which I'll do on my own videos about portals and sort of a shift over the dimensions.
Which is one of the theories.
Yeah. So you've probably heard that Bigfoot's obviously one of the theories and UFOs is another. What's your thoughts on them?
Well, see, we've talked about children now, so that's the 2 child cases. I mean, there's loads, there's thousands and thousands of cases. I recommend anybody go and do your research and watch the documentaries on 411. They're fascinating. But it also happens to hunters. There's lots of hunters in America, and a lot of these guys some of them are ex-military, that go in with their team to go hunting, and some of them go missing. And these are armed people that are used to being in the wilderness, that know their animals, that know how to hunt, know how to stay quiet, very experienced people, like I say, often ex-military.
Yeah, and they know what to do if they get in trouble. So where I asked the question, do you think it's Bigfoot, they would have shot off, at least a round or a couple of rounds.
Yeah, at least.
And Bigfoot does have a terrible stench that no one reports. And someone would have screamed. They would have had to have been so stealthy to take a hunter out before the hunter had a chance to even pull the gun. So,
and they've often got walkie-talkies on.
Yeah.
So there's communication. They're armed, experience in the wilderness, and they just completely vanished. No weapons are found. Nothing's ever found these people ever again.
And that's not to say they're on their own in the first place. These hunters are out there with their mates, and they could walk
team 6, 7, 8 of them
10 yards and bang, it disappears.
Yeah.
As long as it's the outer sight part, isn't it?
Yeah, once you're out of sight, and they all get just far enough to be out of sight, and they're just taken, and there's no explanation, no current explanation as to all it is, and anyone's guess is as good as the other at the minute.
Well, one of the things that David Pilades has done is he sort of maps out where things are, and as you say, they are in the national parks. Now, he's tried many a times to get national, the FYI, National Freedom of Information, on these places.
Yeah. And
they deliberately stonewall him because they even turn around and say that they don't actually have a list of missing people, which he says is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then they want £3 million
to compile it.
From him. Yeah, and of course they know he hasn't got £3 million.
Yeah. It's like they know he's digging into something, and it's like they almost know something that's going on, but no one wants to kind of disclose it. And also another point that he made, he said that a lot of these cases, the FBI turn up at, and the point that he makes is FBI never get involved in a missing persons case of an adult. Occasionally they get involved when a child goes missing, but it's not in their spec to do that. And he's an ex-law enforcement, I think, detective, and yeah, he said that the FBI often turn up and they're kind of, you know, sniffing around for information and logging things, which makes you think there's something going on.
And since he's been doing this, you know, the series on YouTube and whatever else on Coast to Coast, since he's been doing that, a lot of rangers have actually contacted him and said, you know, you're onto something here, and then they start giving him info on things. Now, one of the things that he has pulled out is on the map, there's a lot of the places where people go missing, there's a certain type of rock.
Yeah, that as well. It's weird.
Limestone, which is quite interesting, seeing as the pyramids were made of limestone. But also, so we was talking about before, the sometimes when the bodies are found, explain about how they've already looked in the same place.
Yeah, sometimes, obviously, when people go missing, massive searches go underway, and it involves a lot of people, often family members, with the police, with the parks people, involving sniffer dogs, cadaver dogs, blooded dogs who smell out blood. None of them found anything. So certain places, areas have been searched thoroughly over and over again by dogs and by people, and then suddenly, out of the blue, could be weeks, could be months on, the body's found
right where they've already looked many times.
Many times where it's been, you know, been looked at and searched thoroughly, and often you find, sometimes they find the clothes folded next to them,
or a lot of the cases they're near water.
Yeah, that's another thing as well.
It's a weird one, isn't it?
Strange. Really weird, right? Well, baffling. You can sit there for hours.
I mean,
and
I'll
days.
just give another example. I'm sure people's probably already listened to David Briders, but two joggers running along a sort of, not a desolate road, but, you know, a fairly empty road, actually running on the road because there's no path, because it's right near trees. One of them's talking to the other one that's behind, and next thing you know, the guy just stops talking, and the runner looks behind, and he's gone. Police dogs and everything come out. They find the trail. They follow all the way up to the point where the bloke stopped talking, and that's it. The trail just stops.
Gone. And the dogs, Dave Polides was saying that the dogs that try and sniff out often act really strange around. It's like they follow the scent to a certain point, and then when the scent vanishes, they act really strange and really off to what they normally would.
Now, there's also something you can talk about, which is the hampering of the rescue missions and the mist.
The hampering of rescue missions?
Hampering.
Right.
Yeah, you know, when there's a rescue party the next day or whenever it is, a mist comes over.
Right,
a fog.
yeah. Often when they're searching, I mean, these places do have unpredictable weather, but often you'll find, more often than not, that once the searches start, bad weather comes in.
And
bad
it can
storms.
be right up to fog, you know, or a mist that seems to appear.
Bad rain, that sometimes they have to call off searches, or
snow.
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't make this shit up, really. So, I mean, I advise everyone to go and check this out, because it is a very, very fascinating documentary and stories that go on. They're all true, and it's not just based in the USA.
No.
Often he started tracking it. I think he's had people contact him from the UK, from Europe, to say that weird stuff is going on as well, and I think he's tracking that. I'd like to see him do something based in the UK and do it there, like a separate documentary. That'd be quite cool.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, with the UK, we're very, very built up, and you know, UK I think has probably the most security cameras in the world per head. So, you know, we don't really hear of people in. Now that brings me to the question of national parks. Why are they national parks? Why are they not built up areas? Were they known as an area that causes whatever it is to happen?
Yeah, why particularly?
And then block it off so that only a handful of people go there, as opposed to building up
the areas.
building up the areas. Yeah, I'm just wondering if that's.
often protected places. Also, another thing he checked out as well, he said that a lot of these national parks and the places that these people go missing have strange names.
Oh, right.
Like Devil's Peak,
Right, yes,
or Devil's this,
that, yeah.
or something like that. That is something strange. And he said when he was sort of logging all the cases, he was tracking over the last 10, 20, 30 years, but he found that these cases actually go back hundreds and hundreds of years. And even the Native Americans and stuff that are there now were telling him stories that have been passed down through their family of people, their people going missing. So it's been going on probably forever.
Which makes you then think that, you know, ruling out, I mean, my thoughts are some people going missing will probably be UFOs for whatever reason.
Okay.
That's just some of them. Bigfoot, no. The stories I've heard about Bigfoot, and we'll have to do a Bigfoot one.
Yeah.
But the stories I've heard of Bigfoot is they will take you, but they don't seem to kill you, or if they're going to kill you, they'll kill you there and then, break your neck, and that's the end of it. So, you know, people have escaped, or not escaped, but have walked away from Bigfoots after they've been picked up in sleeping bags and things like that. So, I don't think it's Bigfoot.
You can't say it's a serial killer.
Yeah, so I mean, looking at how many people, 600 and something thousand people last year, or 2019, died, or went missing in the States in 2019. 600. But, you know, let's even just say, you know, 10% of them
are murders.
Yeah, I mean, because
like, it could be, you know, there are crazy people out there that
Yeah.
will take people and do crazy shit. So, you know, a portion of that is murder, a portion that could be animal things, but there's a huge portion that are unexplained.
Yeah, I mean, you got the other people that will want to deliberately disappear from, you know, for whatever reason.
Yeah, it could be for financial reasons or for something, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, some people do just want to disappear, change their name, and they vanish. But there still leaves a big portion of people that there's no explanation why.
Yeah. So, your thoughts on it?
I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of the evidence points to something to do with interdimensional, some kind of parallel dimension. That's what I would think, looking at it, the way people go missing, and, you know, there is another dimension in terms of the spirit world and stuff like that. It does exist. So maybe these places are just a lot thinner in certain areas, and people do go missing
because of the limestone, which has got limestone's got quartz in it.
Could be. Now, you know, or maybe there's something in that dimension that takes these people as well. I don't know. I mean,
I remember telling you about one story that I'd heard long time ago,
Yeah.
about these people going to some tribe, you know, so it was an expedition to a tribe.
Yeah.
And the person that was, or the tour guide or whatever, not really a tour guide, but the guide that was taking them to the tribe that spoke their language, I think it's Swahili or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
He said, don't wear anything yellow, otherwise you'll go missing.
Really?
You'll disappear, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's weird, isn't it?
And you start to
Get selected because you've got a pair of yellow socks on.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, but then again, you know, colours are a frequency.
Yeah.
You know, we see up to a certain frequency, red, and then it goes to infrared. And so, you know, everything's a frequency. So is that, you know,
Yeah.
with the limestone and the quartz, because quartz is a, you know, a humongous part of a frequency. As
Yeah.
you know, we use it for phones, watches and stuff.
Yeah, so it does something.
It's, yeah. So
It does something.
it's yeah. My side is that I think it's.
What do you think it is?
I think there's portals, and I think there's creatures the other side of the portals
That's taken.
that grab them. Yeah. Or a layer of you know, just slightly out of phase, or something that we can't quite see.
And it also comes down to also when you look at the series Stranger Things, the Upside Down, right? Is that
Yeah.
what it's called?
Yeah.
And the way that people have slipped into that by accident and just go missing, right? So we know that they often put these things into movies and series.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the story of the Philadelphia experiment.
Yeah.
The original story, and this I totally believe because there was so many people talking about the original, how they actually got to do it. And so they were working on a shipyard these people, normal people working on a shipyard, building massive ships, and they was using arc welders, and these arc welders got so bright and obviously hot that the objects started to disappear, so their spanners would go missing and things like that in this vicinity. And I will leave the Philadelphia for another day, but the point is things went missing in a frequency of light.
Yeah. So,
you know, can UFOs, can other creatures from another dimension?
Is there something in the other dimension, and are they selecting people and affecting things in this dimension? It's a big question.
Well, whoever's, you know, the people that are going missing are not being seen, so it's certainly an intelligence taking them.
Yeah. Interesting.
So we're coming up to the end of our show, I'm afraid.
That was quite interesting to talk about, and it's one of the things that I've been into for a long time, because it does get your brain ticking over, and you do, in your head, you do try and think, what has happened to these people? So there you go, that was 411 missing. Obviously there's a hell of a lot more to do with 411, so if you are interested to research further, go and check out David Paulides and 411 missing. You can find lots of information on YouTube, BitChute, and
Coast to
Coast. Yeah,
they're now on YouTube, and they're pretty much now on
Spotify as well. Loads of information on Spotify, and yes.
And if you're interested in this kind of subject, visit my TikTok channel, Our True History, or YouTube channel, which is the same, Our True History. I cover all this kind of stuff and more. But Something to Think About also covers.
I cover lots of stuff to do with anti-governmental and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Conspiracies and things. So if you just sort of joined this one, do watch the other videos of Something to Think About.
And check out Our True History.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll be doing more of these, so hopefully hear from and talk to you soon, whoever's listening. Yes, thanks for everyone that tuned in to listen, whether you're in the gym listening or in bed listening. Lots more stories to come. And stay safe, and catch you soon on another episode of Something to Think About. Bye.
Bye.